Hey y'all, this is Ryan Connor coming to you from beautiful Alberta, Alabama, just north of Orange Beach and Gulf Shores, my hometown. I decided to take this journey into trucking, knowing nothing about it. By the encouragement of a friend of mine. I've been doing music for 15 plus years, and due to the economic situation where I live, pretty much you work your ass off during the summer and you do nothing during the winter. I decided to get into trucking. It's something that had always been a dream of mine since I was a kid. I have a cousin of mine who has been a trucker, I guess going on 20 odd years. I've always said there was three things in my life that I always wanted to accomplish. Well, let's just say four of them. The first one as a kid was to become a musician, which I became. It's a very good profession, but at times can be very discouraging due to cancellations of gigs or anything like that. You might be dependent on a bill to get paid, and a gig gets canceled, you can't pay that bill. It's very worthwhile to try to become a musician if you can, if you have the skill to do it and the determination to do that line of work. I moved to an area where musicians are plentiful, and so are the venues. Where I live, there's no competition. Everybody helps each other out. But that being said, I had a friend of mine who was killed in Nashville, Tennessee back in 2013, and it changed my whole outlook of music. Not for the sheer fact of that, but he was my mentor in music, my best friend. And let's just say I lost the creative passion. I lost the creative passion to keep doing it. So I decided to do another outlook, which is cooking. Cooking has been a passion of mine. It's not really ever been a real career goal. I mean, I've always cooked, grandmother, mom, and I always found an interest in it. I spent well over 20 years in culinary. It just feels like it's getting very routine to me. So I became a musician. I became a cook. At one point I was even a chef, running my own kitchen and everything like that. But you know what really changed me was wanting to see the country. And what better way to do that than to get paid for it? That's where this comes in. Trucking. Trucking has always been a real passion of mine. I remember as a kid dreaming of driving a truck and getting pulled over because I didn't have a CDL. It's so weird. But I've always loved big machinery. I've always loved big trucks. Time we'd go from Montgomery, where I'm originally from, down to Castleberry and eventually down to Cantonment, Florida. But I always see these big trucks on the highway. I always do try to get them to blow that air horn. I loved it. I even loved the expression on my mom's face when she come unglued when she sees a big truck behind her going, you know. Oh man, it was fun. But I digress. Getting back on point, I've always wanted to drive a big truck. I've always been very respectful of them. Knowing that these guys do this for a living, it's a job, you know, and your passion has to be to want to drive and be out on the road. And that's a conundrum, I don't know, that I have, a dilemma that I have. I recently had a son back in 2013. This is now December 18th, 2015. We're coming up on the new year. And I decided to contact a trucking company, which I got I ended up getting there's somebody coming in the yard or whatever. But I ended up getting a mentor who contacted me, who told me the steps that I needed to take, get my DOT physical, getting my permit, and all that kind of stuff to get into school. So, look at this. This guy about jackknife that trailer. But anyway, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to plug a spot for anybody. But a buddy of mine who owns a trucking company told me this is the way I want to go. So I decided to take the leap. It's really hard for me because I'm leaving a son behind and a wife to go to this trucking school for a month, and then out on the road for 200 hours worth of my driving time on top of whatever time that my mentor is going to have to drive. But I have to personally log 200 hours. I'm not sure if I take my CDL road test before or after the mentor. I hadn't gotten to that phase yet. I hadn't even got to school yet. Like I said, I'm still in Alberta. On January 12th is when my date with classes start. I'm not going to name the trucking company just to just be respectful. I saw another guy on here who didn't name a trucking company or whatever, but until I know the fine details of everything, I'm not going to name the trucking company. But they decided to take me on in full faith. I respect them for that. They're willing to teach me, even though I will have to pay back a loan for the college or for the school. I'll get money taken out of my check until I pay that back, so I'll be with them for about a year and a half maybe. But I'm going to take this leap of faith. I'm running out of time here. And go to this trucking school. Behind me is one of my buddy's trucks. He said I could come out here and check it out. I'm trying to learn all my parts to pre-trip and all my parts of the truck. So I've got my book and I was looking at his truck. Better get a hands-on feel. I hadn't messed with any gauges. I hadn't messed with any levers, any hoses, anything like that. It's just to look it over. I know I'll learn a lot more when I go to school. But anyways, getting to my last point. My last dream in life was to drive the General Lee. Dukes of Hazzard. I always had dreams as a kid that I was in the back seat of the General Lee and it takes off and all of a sudden we're flying like an airplane. Which is another point. I always wanted, fly in an airplane, which I ended up going to the local airport. And I'm running out of time. Went to the local airport and basically they put me in a VW bus with wings. It's a